The Viceroy of India became a suffragette, standing shoulder to shoulder.
Shout, shout, up with your song, cry with the wind, for the dawn is breaking. March, march, swing you along, white goes our banner, gold is waving. Firm in reliance, love the defiance, love in hope, for sure is the end. March, march, many as one, shoulder to shoulder and friend to friend.
And jump and turn. Whoop, that's it. Round you go. And up on 2 lines. That's it. And then you go together. That's right. And again. In you go again. That's it. No more turn, Kate. In you go to meeting. Go on, that's it. Don't worry. Go on. Now you, Sarah. In you go again. Go on. That's it.
She's new, isn't she? The girl that kept tripping up.
Oh, Sarah, you mean? She does find it a bit difficult.
Well, I think you managed them all splendidly, especially the men. Wasn't it a good idea to ask Wilkins to play his violin?
Well, I don't know, Mother. He seemed rather embarrassed.
Thank you, Rogers.
I'm so sorry that you're leaving us tomorrow.
Oh, so am I, your ladyship. I've really enjoyed myself. I only hope the others did too.
Oh, yes, I think so. They seem determined to persevere with it, and I can't tell you how thrilled I am about that.
More tea, Ruth?
Oh, thank you, Lady Lytton.
You're a very good teacher, you know. You put everyone so much at ease that they don't mind making mistakes for you.
Oh, mistakes don't matter. It's all part of the fun. You know, whenever we get a new girl coming into our club, I mean, they're all working girls at the Esperance Club. You get a new girl comes in, takes a look at us doing the folk dancing. You can see it in her face thinking, what the X this? Give her a week, she's really enjoying it.
Your tea, dear.
Thank you, Lady Lytton.
Oh, no, thank you, Mother. That's one of the reasons I'm so keen on this revival of folk art. I don't think you can ever accuse it of being churchy or do-goody or any of those awful things. It's simply a spontaneous expression of... Oh, dear. I never know how to express myself. It's so joyful. Well, that's what I think anyway.
I wish I could make you change your mind and come on our club's holiday. I think you'd like it, and I know the girls would.
Oh, no, I couldn't really. I'm a terrible home bird, really I am. I very seldom go away at all these days.
I'm afraid Constance has to be careful with her health.
Oh, no, Muddy, that's
no,
not...
you do. The doctors have told her she must lead a very quiet life.
I don't lead that much of a quiet life. I just like it here. And there are so many things I have to do. Apart from the dancing, I have the schools to visit and things in the village to arrange. And I am very interested in horticulture. I'm trying at the moment to organize a flower show, and you'll be surprised how difficult that can be. Well, I dare say it doesn't sound very much, but I honestly find with all that and the house that I get very little time to go anywhere.
Well, I think I must side with Ruth on this. A week by the sea would do you nothing but good.
I'm quite strong now, Muddy. You know I am.
Then all the more reason to go away. I'm sure the village can look after itself for a week, and there is a staff to look after the house, you know.
And what about you? I can't leave you alone.
My husband has been dead for 15 years, but to listen to Con, you'd think it was yesterday. You go to Littlehampton. It will make a change for you.
I wish you would, Lady Constance.
Oh, no. I don't think so.
What's the matter with you?
It's cold!
Oh, go on in! Go on, get in!
Go on, you've got your knees wet yet! It's too cold!
Oh, go on!
Coming to the talk tonight, aren't you, Con?
What talk?
Jessie Kenny's talk. She's going to tell us what it was like inside. Prison. Didn't you know she'd been in prison?
No.
Only just come out.
Oh, dear. Poor girl.
Annie Kenny's been in and all. And Mrs. Pettit Lawrence.
Did you?
Well, you must have known they were suffragettes.
You can't sleep. Well, not really. There's always someone stamping about. Noises. And then someone in another cell starts shouting or crying. Oh, and it nearly tears your heart out when you hear them cry. Because there's nothing you can do to help. And you don't know what they're crying for. Or if they're only crying so someone will hear. It takes away the loneliness to know that someone can hear. You each have this one tin can, you see. And they fill it up with water once a day. But you're not allowed to wash it out. You have to clean it with soap and brick dust, that's all. Where's your pint, 24? Or whatever your number is. Where's your pint? I want to inspect your pint. You see, you're not a person anymore. You're just a number. A number with a pint tin and a slop bucket. One thought stays with you. One thought keeps you sane. The thought that the reason you're there is right. The thought that if we win, and of course, win we shall. The thought that when we win, we shall know more about the evils that go on in this civilized country of ours than any of those windbags in Parliament do. And not only shall we know more about them, we shall then be in a position to do something about them. We shall try and create a land in which people are people. We shall try and create a land in which it's fit to live.
I agree. I agree with a lot of the things you say. There is a great deal that is wrong in the world. I believe our prison system is one of them. I believe that women should be allowed to register their vote. But no, I'm sorry, I don't agree with your methods. I couldn't agree with breaking the law. I think it sets a very bad example. And I think it does nothing but harm to a cause which I believe is a very good one.
Just like bashing yourself on the head with a mallet. It's nice when it stops. I do tell him badly.
No, not at all. I'm very slow, I'm afraid.
Tell you the truth, I quite like the rain. Mind you, you have to where I come from. You see enough of it. Not that it seems to clean the place up. Take a tidal wave to get rid of that muck. Shall do it one day, though.
I think that's what I was trying to say. I hope I didn't offend you.
Of course you didn't.
You spoke your mind. Well, I don't think I did. Not really. I don't find it easy to express myself. But you see, it seems to me that there is so much to be done. So much to reform, and yes, the position of women is one of those things, but is it the most important? And do we prejudice the chances of other reform by using militant methods to get the vote? I think that we do. I think that we make people react against us and the progress that we need to achieve. It seems to me that The barriers of class, the barriers of wealth and poverty. It seems to me that the breaking of these barriers is much more important than the breaking of the barrier of sex. Well, that's what it seems to me, anyway.
No. Your father was Viceroy of India, your mother lady-in-waiting to the Queen, and you come from one of the finest families in the land. Almost any door in the country would be open to you. Now, you'll call that the barrier of privilege. Well, perhaps. I'm a working-class woman, and I can tell you I've never allowed class distinction or class prejudice stand in my way. But that other thing, that sex barrier, that stands in the way at every turn. I don't want to be superior to men. Just like to be equal and have an equal chance. I'd like every woman to have that chance. I mean, we are talking about half the people in this country. We're talking about the way they have to live. And for most of them, it's hell on earth. I think only another woman can understand that. I'd like to give them the right to be human beings. And for that, I'll fight. In any way I can.
Did you enjoy it? I really enjoyed myself. Yes, so have I. I'm sorry we couldn't always see eye to eye, but you're sufficiently interested in our policy to criticize it. Will you be sufficiently interested to study its cause and read about our case? I hope you will.
Come in. The afternoon post, my lady.
Thank you, Rogers.
I suppose that's your suffragette paper thing.
Not mine, Mother. I just read it.
You seem scarcely to have been reading anything else. Pamphlets, papers, going to their meetings. I hope you won't get involved in this stupid nonsense.
One can't know it's nonsense without studying it, Mother.
It would all be quite funny if it wasn't so dangerous. All that screaming and violence. You can't agree with that.
I don't think I do.
Good.
But you should blame Mr. Gladstone for that, you know. He told them that argument would not win them the vote. They would have to prove to the country that they were a dynamic force.
Oh, I agree with the idea of votes for women. But the average woman is happy in her home. She has no interest at all in all this agitation.
Do you really think we can speak for the average woman, Mother? We can hardly be described as average ourselves.
Of course we are not average. You don't think I'm foolish enough to think that.
Then how can we know what the average woman wants?
Because our family, your family, have always been leaders, and therefore it's been our business to know.
I'm quite sure that's true.
And I'm quite sure that people don't want stupidity like this.
There were 250,000 people at the Hyde Park rally. The more peaceful suffrage organizations never achieve support like that.
Did they go to cheer or to be entertained? One can, of course, see why they would like to interest you. Oh, yes. To have our name in their movement would be a considerable coup.
We have the support and sympathy of the best men and women. Public opinion is with us, and we have only to press forward to achieve victory in the near future. On the 13th of October, in Parliament Square, on the day the House of Commons reassembles, there will be many thousands of people to see fair play between women and the government. We shall keep their support and cooperation by showing them, as we have done before, with what quiet courage, self-restraint, and determination women are fighting against the tyranny and oppression of the government.
Conduct likely to provoke a breach of the peace by initiating and causing to be published a certain handbill, calling upon and inciting the public to a certain wrongful and illegal act, viz., to rush the House of Commons at 7:30 p.m. on October the 13th inst. We are summoned to appear at Bow Street Court at 3:30 today. We have a meeting at Queen's Hall this afternoon.
The government's representatives are now, as I speak to you, expecting us at Bow Street. But we have decided that our engagement here is of far greater importance to us. So, we are here. And we shall not go to Bow Street until they come and take us.
Mrs. Pankhurst, please.
Come this way, please.
You're Constance Lytton, aren't you?
Yes.
I've seen you at meetings. And Emily Pethick Lawrence has told me about you.
I went to see Mrs. Pethick Lawrence this afternoon to ask if there was any way in which I could help.
That was most kind of you. I understood you were not fully converted to our point of view.
Well, no. That is to say,
Then it was even kinder of you.
I have been to the House of Commons. There were great crowds outside, and I'm sure that most of them were sympathetic to you. I wanted to see Mr. Gladstone. Well, he was not available, but a member of Parliament I know took messages to him. I wanted him to promise to treat you as political prisoners and guarantee you the privileges which that entails, instead of sentencing you to the second division as if you were common criminals. We passed several messages back and forth, but I'm sorry to say he would not agree. He said that even if he had the power to help, nothing in the world would induce him to do so.
I see.
I think it is completely inhuman of him. I have also been trying to obtain bail for you, but so far, I'm afraid, without success. It seems that only the magistrate can authorize that, and he is no longer here, and although I'm sure the policemen want to be helpful because they do not seem to like this business at all, they say that it is against the rules for them to give me his home address.
It would be of the greatest help if you could get us free for the night. You see, we have to appear in court tomorrow. My daughter, Christabel, is to conduct our defense. She's a qualified lawyer, you know. But of course, as she's a woman, they won't let her practice, except in a case where she herself is the accused. There are no beds here. It'll be very difficult for us all, and especially for her, if in the morning we have no energy left from lack of sleep.
I shall find the magistrate. I promise I shall. I've been such a long time, I know I have. But I went to the magistrate's home, and they directed me to his club, and they directed me to the place where he was having dinner tonight.
You seem to have been half over London.
Well, he told me he could not discuss it. He said bail was out of the question because of the late hour at which they had arrived at Bow Street. And as to the division to which they'd be sentenced, well, that was something he could only decide in court.
Well, thank you very much for trying. Now, you must get some well-earned rest.
Oh, no. I asked him if we could take in food and bedding so that they can at least be a little more comfortable. And he said that we could, provided the police had no objection. And I'm quite sure they won't. So I've still got a taxi cab downstairs. So if you could...
Would you wait here, please?
They don't let them starve in there, then. I say, they don't let them starve in there, then, do they, eh?
No need to let them starve until it is necessary.
Sir James Murray had it sent round from the Savoy Hotel. It said beds as well.
It's a black, black cloud with nae silver lining.
Mr. Lloyd George, I believe you were present at our meeting at Trafalgar Square on Sunday, October the 11th.
Yes, I was.
Did you hear any violence advocated at that meeting?
Not except to force an entrance to the House of Commons.
There were no words used so likely to incite violence as the words you used at Swansea, that women should be ruthlessly flung out of your meeting. Mr. Lloyd George, the word to which the prosecution takes offence is, as you probably know, the word rush. Rush the House of Commons, that's what we said. Now, I would like to discuss with you, with the help of this copy of Chambers' Dictionary, I would like to discuss the true meaning of this word rush. I find that one of the meanings of the word is an eager demand. What do you think of that?
I should not like to enter into competition with Chambers' Dictionary. I am prepared to accept it. Yes, I was in the neighborhood of the House of Commons on the 13th of October.
The day in which this rush was to take place?
Yes.
And once again, as in Trafalgar Square, you were accompanied by your small daughter.
I was.
Did you think it safe to bring this young child?
Certainly. She was very much amused.
Were you yourself attacked or assaulted in any way?
No.
You are aware that we argue that as we are deprived in a share of the parliamentary representatives, we are entitled to go in person to the House of Commons.
That was a point put by Mrs. Pankhurst in the speech I heard.
Do you agree with that point of view?
I should not like to express an opinion.
It is not for the witness to express an opinion.
Mr. Lloyd George, I would like to ask whether, in your opinion, the whole of this agitation which women are carrying on, very much against the grain, would be immediately stopped if the constitutional right to vote were granted to them.
I should think that is very likely.
Mrs. Brackenbury, do you recall earlier this year, after being sentenced at Westminster Court for a so-called disturbance following a suffrage meeting, the magistrate, Mr. Horace Smith, commented, "I am doing what I was told to do."
You must not put that question.
That is what he said.
Lady Constance, did you see any sign of violence from the women outside the House of Commons on October the 13th?
No. I do not come here as an ordinary lawbreaker. I should not be here if I had the same right to vote as the wife-beater has, as the drunkard has. And in this I speak for all the other women who have come before you and before other magistrates. This is the only way in which women can get the right of deciding how the taxes to which they contribute should be spent, and how the laws which they have to obey should be made. If you had the power to send us to prison not for 6 months, but for 6 years, for 10 years, and for the whole of our lives, the government must not think it can stop this opposition. We are here not because we are lawbreakers. We are here in our efforts to become lawmakers.
Please, don't upset yourself, Mother. I have done nothing of which I need be ashamed. I didn't give the press my name. I didn't ask for publicity.
The leaders of that movement are wicked and wrong. And you have associated your name with them.
They're not wicked, Mother. I know them. They're not.
All violence is wicked. If you carry their theory to its logical conclusion, you will end up doing murder for the sake of the cause. Well,
That is against all my beliefs and all my principles.
It is against mine, too.
Then why do you have anything to do with them?
Because all this violence you're talking about, but this violence is being committed against them. Suppression is violence, and they are suppressed. Thousands upon thousands of women are suppressed. Their rights are suppressed, their minds are suppressed. And when they attempt to do something about it, the government tries to see that they are physically suppressed. Do you honestly think that up until now I have done anything which you seriously consider a disgrace?
It is what you may do that frightens me. What I'm sure they will make you do.
Oh, they don't make anybody do anything. They inspire people. Yes, they do. But it's not a mystical, religious thing. Or perhaps it is. I don't know. They simply inspire people to believe that their way is right.
It is not right, Con. I know it's not. Oh, look here, my darling. Believe me, I don't want to fight with you. I love you far too much for that. But set aside all question of principle for a moment. You're not physically fit for this sort of agitation.
I'm quite strong now, Muddy. The doctor said so.
He said you would be if you took care. People with heart trouble have to be careful.
I know. Look, I promise you you can trust me not to do anything contrary to my nature, my opinions, or my upbringing.
To be locked inside a prison is a terrible thing. We shall make use of that terrible thing. I shall myself return there before very long, and we shall render that prison ordeal so terrible that it will become a compelling argument in the winning of the vote.
Even though we had no hope of success, even though our militant campaign were destined to failure, we should go on with it. So long as we have life, we shall never renounce this struggle. But we are going to win, for we have right on our side. Our quarrel is just.
Are you all right?
Yeah.
Christabel's right. I mean, when she says those first days in prison, you wonder if you'll ever see the outside world again. I never thought I would. Never.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realise you'd be... What have you been?
Oh, I'm all right now, really. Well, it was 6 months ago. I expected just hearing them talking about it. Anyway, whatever. I won't be able to do it again. They told me I'll lose my job if I do. Thing is, I can't afford to do that.
My angel mother, I don't know whether I shall post this to you or see you first. Don't be startled or afraid. I have something to tell you which, with the help of recent presentiments, You, I know, are half expecting to hear. You will still be angry, if it could only be that. You will be hurt through and through. My hope has been all along that I should be able to take you into my confidence. But unless I had your sympathy and understanding, it was, of course, hopeless to count on your secrecy. If you ever see this letter, it will mean that after joining the deputation, I have been arrested and shall not see you again until I have been to Holloway. Do not be distressed about the physical discomforts there. I am such a muff that any hardships will be wholesome for me. If I can only know that you will help me face it, it would be nothing to me. I am not a hero, but...
I like your hairstyle.
I don't want the police to recognize me. What I mean is, they might not arrest me if they do.
Oh, quite right. If they think you've got relatives who can make a fuss, they treat you very carefully.
What does one have to do? I suppose I must do something to show I mean business.
You don't have to bother about what you do. It won't be done to you. There's only one thing that you must remember. It's our business to move forwards. And whatever is said to you or whatever is done to you, you must on no account be turned back.
The women here assembled call upon the government to introduce and carry into law this session a measure giving votes to women on the same terms as men. A deputation is hereby appointed to whom it is entrusted the duty of forthwith conveying this resolution to the Prime Minister at the House of Commons and eliciting his reply.
Party, wasn't it?
Number 1 Court Bow Street, 10:30 a.m. Number 1 Court Bow Street, 10:30 a.m. Number 1 Court Bow Street, 10:30 a.m. Number 1 Court Bow Street, 10:30 a.m.
I met her quite by chance, just as I was leaving the theatre. She's been on the deputation for the WSPU.
Con, you look all in. Well, what happened? Were you arrested?
She's been allowed out on bail till tomorrow morning.
I've written to tell Mother.
Oh, that's what seems to worry her most. What will Mother think?
Well, Mother's only worry will be to know that you're all right.
Can I stay here tonight?
Oh, my dear, of course you can.
Suffragettes fight police in Parliament Square. Former Viceroy's daughter arrested. The Earl of Lytton's sister in court.
Lady Constance Lytton, do you agree to be bound over to keep the peace?
I am more proud to be standing in this dock with my friends than I have been over anything I have done in my life.
Do you agree to be bound over?
No, sir.
Then I have no alternative but to send you to prison for the period of 1 month.
All aboard who's coming aboard. Any more for the Skylark? No charge to be made for this jolly journey. Then, bed and breakfast at the other end. Let's foot forward now, girls. Come on, ladies. In you go, right at the front there. Mind your backs now, ladies. Hold very tight, please.
Not too bad. Is your hat all right?
Rising daughters of a land that haunts its liberty, make reckless rulers understand that women must be free, that women will be free. Hark, the trumpet's calling, would be a laggard in the fight, with victory but now in sight, and stubborn foemen backward falling, to freedom's cause till death, we swear our lealty. March on, face to the dawn of liberty.
When we've been through the admittance routine, we shall probably be put in newer cells than these. Much cleaner than these. We must remember to observe the rules rigidly. If anything seems unjust, we ask for an interview with the governor. If we feel ill, we ask to see the doctor. Very few of the officers are monsters, you know. They're just bound by the system in which they work. And it's the government that must bear the responsibility for that. I was arrested by a most charming policeman last night. He hardly stopped apologizing all the way to Cannon Row. I shouldn't be at all surprised.
Lytton?
Right. 10 right. Halt.
I am the matron, Lytton.
How do you do?
I have here a letter from your mother. It was delivered here by her maid. I have been given permission to give it to you.
Is it not against prison rules that I should have this letter?
We make the rules as the occasion calls.
You are allowed to have it.
Will the other suffrage prisoners be allowed to receive letters?
No.
Then I'm afraid that I can't have this one either.
I can see that you want it. Please, take it. Very well. Shall I read it to you? That is in keeping with the ordinary rules. All letters are opened. I'm afraid it has already been read.
Please read it, then.
I was more distressed than you can ever know by your telephone call this morning in informing me of what you have done and what has happened to you. I do not understand how you could behave in this way. I have loved you dearly all your life, and of course I shall always do so. I am sure that you have always loved me. Then why, oh why, have you so easily thrown away every principle in which you know I believe and for which our family...
Age?
40.
Place of birth?
Vienna. My father was in the diplomatic service.
Sign this list of your personal possessions. They're the largest in stock. You can't have any others, so you better make the best of them. Stop.
They're putting us in the hospital cells.
No talking allowed. $83. $83. Sit straight, 83. The governor wants to see you.
Good afternoon, Lady Lytton.
Good afternoon, sir.
I hear that you have a complaint.
My complaint is that I'm given preferential treatment. I should be put in the ordinary cells and given work to do as the other prisoners are.
You've already been moved from the hospital ward and into this cell.
This is a hospital cell. I am not a hospital case.
You're suffering from a serious heart disease. Medical officer says so. I'm a fully qualified doctor. I've examined you, and I agree with him.
There are others more ill than I, and they have no special advantage.
I would hardly call this cell an advantage.
I wish to be treated as the others are.
Lady Constance, I wonder if you've considered whether you were wrong in not agreeing to be bound over. You always change your mind, you know. I would ask you to consider your family. Your brother, Lord Lytton,
If you forgive me, sir, my brother is fully in sympathy with our cause.
Your mother, then. Do you not think it is your duty to consider her?
I am not the only woman here with a mother.
I'm sorry I cannot persuade you.
No, sir, you cannot.
And as for this business of transferring you, that is entirely out of the question.
Because you wish me to look healthy when I am released, while you do not care how some of the others look.
There is no justification for that opinion.
What consideration did you show for Mrs. McMurray? She fell and hurt her leg at exercise, but nobody would take her injury seriously, and she was left in her cell while she pleaded for help. When she finally reached the hospital, it is not surprising she looked more dead than alive.
I cannot discuss with you.
What consideration do you show for the woman in the cell downstairs who I could hear screaming all through the night?
I cannot discuss the other prisoners with you. If you wish to obey the rules of this institution, please start by obeying that one first. Good day to you. I have decided that you will remain where you are.
All right? Yes.
Do you want to see my boy? Did you hear all that screaming again last night? Who was he? Some loony. That's my boy. He's very nice. He's just like his dad. Your husband. No. Used to work for him. What are you here for? I don't know. Met a fella, didn't I? Another baby come along, you see. Not enough food for 2 kids, see. Killed the baby. Strangled it, you see. Got off with concealment of birth. He'll be all right, though. And I'll be out in May.
No talking aloud. Not used to all this cleaning, are you?
Actually, I do quite a lot of it at home.
Oh, sort of hobby, you mean? Different when you got no option, though. Nice little thing, isn't she? Feel sorry for her.
Yes.
Still, can't go around doing that sort of thing with babies. Not that you know what she's done because you weren't talking, were you?
No.
If I catch you again, it'll be reported.
Then perhaps they'll put me in the punishment cells.
Don't be sarcastic.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be. You've been very good to me. You've treated me just like you treat the other prisoners. Look, I want to warn you of something because I don't want you to get into trouble. I intend to prove to them that I am fit enough to be in the ordinary cells. I shall move my mattress onto the floor tonight to prove I don't need a special bed.
It won't make any difference. They'll never move you. Whatever you do, they'll never move you.
Then I shall have to force them to.
You realize you've been outrageously stupid? We had not discovered this when we did. There's no telling what may have been the result.
If you had not discovered me, I should have continued until I had written Votes for Women with the last letter scratched across my face.
My God. You asked to be treated like a normal prisoner. We should have moved you to the asylum block.
If you think I am mad, then please do that. That would be treating me normally.
I want your word that you'll never try to do anything like this again.
You cannot have my word. You know quite well how to stop me doing this again. Let me join my friends in the ordinary cells.
No. That is out of the question.
Stand up, 83. You're moving across to the other cells. They say the weather's warmer. You'll be all right there now.
Mother's gone upstairs to rest. Oh, there's no doubt that she's still upset. But I think she's so delighted to have you back that she'd forgive you anything.
I wish I could think you were right. Because whatever happens, I couldn't stop now. Oh, Vic. Those faces.
Which faces?
The faces of the prisoners on remand. There was so much suffering and bitterness in those faces. I stood watching, thinking, what? What is being done for them to give them hope? Or courage? Or a belief in a better future for themselves or their children? Or any sort of recognition of their rights or their needs? I couldn't help thinking of other women I'd seen at ballrooms and parties, you know. Herded together in a desperate effort to pass some of the time in their futile, useless lives. Well, until we get to know about the way in which most of the women in this country live, until we realize that, in our own cosseted way, we are just as enslaved as they are. Until then, we're nothing but evil, are we? Until then, we're nothing but a force for evil, and in no way whatsoever are we fit to lead. No. No point in laughing, because I mean it.
Yes.
This is... This movement is the most important. It almost seems wrong to say it, but it is the most wonderful thing I have ever known.
You are a Puritan in some ways, Con. It isn't wrong to say it's wonderful at all. How can it be wrong to get pleasure out of fighting for something which you believe is right?
No, I didn't say pleasure.
Oh, no, heaven forbid that you should say pleasure.
You're making fun of me.
Not at all.
I meant wonderful. Because of the sense of purpose, I suppose. And because everybody that one is working with seemed to make that purpose more justified.
I know.
What is it?
Oh, dear, oh, dear.
Are you making fun of me?
No. It's that car. The one they presented to Mrs. Pethick Lawrence. Painted in those unbelievable colours.
Purple, white and green. They're the union colours. It's good publicity.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry. As you well know, Con, I'm very committed to the women's cause. But I do not think that even I am committed enough to ride in that car. Are you?
Yes, I am.
Two letters for the Prime Minister.
At first, they tried to tempt us with food. Not ordinary prison food, but specially cooked. Delicious-looking things that, if you're as hungry as we were very hard to resist.
But you said you wouldn't eat at all until they recognized you as political prisoners.
Yes. They all came in. Prison doctor, governor, everybody of importance. And I don't think they would have done it on their own initiative. I think they would have been very happy to release us.
I think so. They were hardly experienced in what they had to do. In the past, the process of forced feeding has been confined to lunatics in asylums. No, the orders to feed you came from the government.
Yes, that's what we thought.
Will you tell us what happened the first time?
Well, the first time one didn't know what to expect. The prison doctor came in the evening. He had 4 wardresses with him. He said he was going to feed me. Told me to lay down on the bed. I protested, of course, but the wardresses held me. One held my head, one my feet, one my arms, and the other helped the doctor to feed me. He tried to put a gag into my mouth. He had to somehow keep my mouth open, you see. I fought as hard as I could to stop him getting the gag in, but after a while I'd no strength left, and he managed to get it into place. There's a screw on the gag. When it's turned, it has the effect of...
You must wrap your stones in paper, on which, of course, you will have written a suitable greeting. The paper mustn't be too thick, or the wind will get inside and carry them away from your target. And remember not to attract attention until the moment you decide to throw your stone, because tomorrow the police will arrest you on the least suspicion. If you are arrested when you've thrown your stones, you will almost certainly be sent to prison. You will then have to decide whether or not to take food, in the full knowledge of what will happen to you if you do not. I think that I know what most of you will do.
11 suffragettes arrested. Lady Constance, Lytton sentenced. Hunger strike in Newcastle jail.
The release from Newcastle jail of the 2 militant suffragettes, Lady Constance Lytton and Mrs. Brailsford, because they took part in a hunger strike in which all imprisoned suffragettes had taken part, has created considerable surprise in many quarters. Such treatment contrasts very strangely with that of the suffragettes in Birmingham jail, where the hunger striker has been fed through a feeding tube.
As the others have been in Newcastle.
Yes.
I could hear them screaming and shouting from my cell.
The authorities are claiming, of course, that both you and Mrs. Brailsford were medically examined and found to be unfit for the rigours of force feeding.
Oh, yes, they say that. What they will not admit is that there were others far less fit for that treatment than either of us. No sort of leniency was granted to them. Mrs. Brailsford's husband is a well-known journalist, and my brother is a member of the House of Lords. They released the 2 with any influence, and they quite callously force-fed the rest.
You do have chronic heart condition.
Oh. Would that have saved me if I'd not been who I am?
Perhaps not. I'm afraid it's something we shall never know. We do live in a class-ridden structure. And no matter how many times they have to arrest you, you will always be treated preferentially.
Let us remember what happened in Dundee. When they threatened to force-feed the suffragettes there, 2,000 men assembled to protest against it, and the hunger strikers were released. Well, will the people of Liverpool tolerate what the Scots will not? I cannot believe they will. But I tell you that as we stand here, this despicable torture is being practiced inside there. Let us go to the governor and demand that it be stopped. Let us call upon the governor to release these women. Let us refuse to disperse until he does. I call upon you all to follow me to the governor's house. Release the hunger strikers!
slinging.
Next.
To the road to Jelly Thorn. For the dearest
Name, please.
Jane Wharton.
Jane Wharton?
Yes.
14 days hard labour?
Yes.
Suffragette?
Yes.
You ate what you're given, remember that. Hunger striking is wrong.
I agree that without an
I
object...
do not want your opinions. Just do what I say. Turn out your pockets and put your personal possessions there. Name? Hogan. Other names? Catherine Mary. 28 hard labour. Yeah. Soliciting. Yeah. Too many filthy girls like you. Here, Wharton, what you doing? You don't have to hug the bloody fire. You'll be quite warm enough in here.
Aren't you hungry?
Yes.
Well, it's easy enough. If you're hungry, eat.
When did you last eat?
Friday night.
That makes this the 4th day. It's already too long. I shall have to feed you. Yes, I shall feed you at once.
No surrender.
Will you please lay yourself flat on the bed? Open your mouth. I have to put this gag in your mouth to hold it open while you are being fed. This is a wooden gag which will not hurt you at all. If you will not cooperate, I shall have no alternative but to use the steel gag, which will cut into your gums and will hurt very much. Very well, then. If you carry on like this, I shall feed you through the nose. Right. Hold her firmly now.
No surrender. No surrender.
Will you eat by your own free choice today? Take hold of her.
If she had said who she really was.
Oh, would that have made any difference to the treatment she received?
No, of course not. No. But in any case, I suspected something. I myself wrote a report to the Home Office about it. I said that her body was spare, very spare. And there was something about the shape of the nose that suggested quality.
Do you usually judge people by the shape of their noses?
One can sometimes. I've no idea how the press found out about it.
They contacted me.
I'm glad they did. I'm afraid you will not find her.
In the best of health.
She wouldn't eat, so she had to be fed.
How often?
8 times, I believe.
Would you not remember?
Yes, 8 times. To tell you the truth, I have never known such a bad case.
What exactly do you mean by that?
She was practically asphyxiated every time.
Do you not think it possible that this could have been due to her heart condition?
Her heart?
Did you not examine her heart?
Well, yes, of course. Or at least my colleague did. I remember he said it was, very sound.
My sister was examined by doctors in Holloway and in Newcastle prison. And in both these places she was told that she was suffering from a serious disease of the heart. Oh, is it possible that this condition has since cleared up? Or is it much more likely that because you thought she was only an ordinary prisoner, your examination was shoddy and perfunctory?
You have no evidence at all for saying that. Your sister's being released, not because we've discovered who she is, but because she's not fit to be forcibly fed again.
I'm quite sure you're far too intelligent to really believe that that is true.
Lytton, sir.
There was one even worse thing than the physical agony. And that was the moral poisoning, if one may call it that, of one's whole mind. I always closed my eyes. I tried not to see the beings who came to do this thing. I felt it was all too hideous, and I did not wish it imprinted on my eyes. Nevertheless, I got to hate those men and women. I got to hate infinitely more the powers that stood behind them. I got to hate the blindness, the prejudice of those who turn away and won't look or listen to what is being done under their very eyes. I saw those hateful faces, the moral blindness of officialdom, the faces of all the injustice done, not only in prison, but in the world outside. And I thought, surely it was for these that Christ died, and is dying still, and will have to die until they begin to see.
You feeling well enough for a visitor, Con?
A visitor?
Con?
Oh, hello, Vic.
How are you, Con? Now, we all told you that it would be too much for you, all that dashing about after the awful time you had. I hope you're resting, getting yourself well.
I'm all right, Vic. Really. And everybody has been so kind. And you'll be kind, too, if you keep off the subject of politics. Con's in no state to worry about that. And remember, dear, don't stay too long. Mother has been wonderful. She still doesn't approve, but she has been wonderful.
Well, Vic, what's all the news? Do tell me what's been happening.
It's very good.
What is it?
All the militancy has been called off.
Why?
I have formed an all-party parliamentary committee to introduce a bill giving votes to women.
But will it succeed?
The Prime Minister has promised that it will.
Oh, Vic. Oh, Vic. But the force feeding, is that still going on?
For the moment, yes. But it will stop as soon as the bill goes through. And this time it will go through, Con. I really feel that it will.
Have you seen the locusts? How they cross a stream? First, one comes down to the water's edge, and it is swept away. And then another comes, and then another. And gradually, with their bodies piled up, a bridge is built, and the rest pass over. Mrs. Pethick Lawrence quoted that to me on one dreadful night in Holloway Prison.
You have helped build the bridge.
Well, perhaps I made a track to the water's edge.
My sister Constance has had a heart seizure. It has come only a few months after her ordeal in Walton Prison, and there seems little doubt that it is as a result of the experiences she underwent there. The doctors tell me that there is little chance of her ever recovering, and that we must expect her to spend the rest of her short life as a partially paralyzed invalid.
And the next play in this series will be in 2 weeks.
Wider morrow, ways that are weary, days that are dreary, toil and pain by faith he hath borne.